So, welcome to the 7 steps to spiritual alchemy. It's my absolute pleasure to share this information with you. I've been on my own transformational and healing journey for many, many years now. And I'm continuously learning about myself. And that's the beauty of life, I guess. You know, there is no end point to our self-awareness or self-reflection. So I want to share this information with you to really help you if you feel at a place in your life where you want to get to know the true self, the spirit, the soul, the core essence of you. And maybe you need to lose some conditioning that's been placed upon you over the years. And that really does define peeling back the layers to find who you are at the core level. So the life that you choose is in total alignment to who you are spiritually. So my name is Anne-Marie. I'm a spiritual life coach and energy worker. I'm the owner of the Soul Awakening Academy. And I enjoy creating methods of coaching and healing that really help you clear the past so you can create and make way for a better future. I work with people like you who want to fulfill their own potential, who want to bring about change at a core level. And I do lots of training through the Soul Awakening Academy with online courses, workshops, videos, etc. It was the power of learning about my own core emotions that helped me to rediscover the joys of life. I dedicated several years of my life to studying the mind, emotions and behaviors through training through various modalities, hypnotherapy, NLP, coaching, spiritual counseling, etc. I've even studied the body as a medical acupuncturist, biomedicine and naturopathy. My absolute passion is to help you understand that we have a human experience. We're born into the world. We have this human experience. And throughout that experience, we are conditioned into ways of being, thinking, acting, feeling. And throughout our life, we can experience pain and trauma and negativity. And within that, we create stories and for those experiences to mean something about who we are. And we start to identify with our stories, our pain, our trauma, our negative experiences. And that shapes how we view the world. That is not the true self. So I'm passionate about helping you see the absolute beauty and magnificence of your core essence. So throughout this course, the next few videos, we'll talk about how the mind works on the conscious and subconscious level. And I'm sure you're aware in today's busy world, we're all subconsciously, mentally compartmentalizing each and every aspect of our lives, from love to money, relationships to how we look, through to our own spiritual and mental health. We put all of these thoughts and feelings into their own separate boxes without giving a second thought to the connections all of these have to bear on our health, our well-being, and consequently how we act and feel. So I'm really looking forward to taking you through the 7 steps of spiritual alchemy to help you in your own personal coaching journey, where I will show you how to discover just what you can achieve and how to unlock your future potential. I will be delighted to show you ways in which you can create and make deep-rooted and lasting changes that will enhance each and every aspect of your life and which will fully allow you to become the very best possible you. So it all starts with mindset. Mindset is one of those words that we're all familiar with these days, and we find it being used in a myriad of contexts, some of which are wide off the mark. So the theory of mindset was discovered by Carol Dweck, a psychologist at Stanford University in California. Carol took the basic knowledge that our brain is merely a muscle, and the fact that the habits that we develop, both good and bad, are formed when the brain creates these neural pathways. She summarized that our behaviors are automatic, and that in order for us to form a new mindset, our brains have to create new neural pathways, which will, in turn, create new, more positive habits. So a neural pathway are connections in the brain that make us that bring about an automatic response. This is when we learn by habit and practice. We practice something or we repeat something that often, the brain no longer has to think about the mechanics of doing it anymore. It just does it subconsciously. Bit like tying a shoelace, riding a bike, learning to drive a car. Those behaviors, we've done them that often, they become habitual behaviors. That's how a neural pathway is formed. But did you realize there are actually two different forms of mindset? The first form of mindset is a fixed mindset. This is where we believe that our basic abilities, such as our intelligence, even our talents, are just fixed traits. For example, you believe that your talent alone creates your success and you don't have to input any other effort to do so. Consequently, you will spend both your time relying on your intelligence and talents rather than focusing on developing and expanding them. And by doing so, you're liable to seriously limit your potential to become the best possible you. The other state of mindset is a growth mindset. In this mindset, you are open to the idea that with a combination of learning, hard work, and dedication, your talent and intelligence are qualities to be built upon and expanded. When you begin to adopt a growth mindset, you're taking the first steps to believing that you're capable as you are and you're destined for great things. It's just a matter of practicing this in order for your brain to create a new neural pathway. And in doing so, you'll be creating a new, more positive mindset. Like all good things, learning this new skill will take a period of determination and hard work in order for the growth mindset to become a new positive habit. But rest assured, it will be worth persevering. In doing so, you will gain a wider perception of your own capabilities, along with a great insight and understanding of yourself and your skills. As we've seen with the growth mindset, making any transformational change takes a combination of groundwork, practice, and dedication before you see the fruits of your labor turn into reality. Our beliefs and automatic behaviors are located in something called the subconscious mind, which I will talk about more here. And in order to make the beliefs and behaviors a reality, we first must create the object of our desire within our conscious or aware mind. The catalyst to manifesting our dreams can be achieved through a combination of mindfulness or meditation, visualization, and coaching, and enable us to plant the seeds of our dreams within our subconscious mind. So how do we become the very best version of ourselves? Well, firstly, we need to look at and address our negative feelings such as anxiety, stress, and self-sabotage. And this is where we can utilize a positive mental attitude or that growth mindset. We only have to take time to observe the natural world around us to see that every space is filled with a mixture of beauty, nature, and life, all blended together to show us the strength and power of the natural world. Each and every season has a bearing on our own emotional well-being, and it quickly becomes apparent just how our moods and emotions can be swayed and changed as a result, even at a subconscious level. We're only too familiar with that feeling of sadness as winter comes and the days grow shorter, and we long to hibernate until spring arrives to lift us out of our melancholy mood. I truly believe that employing the right skills and positive mental attitude, you too can achieve everything you want in life. And in turn, you can be the strength and support and guide others along their path. So let's look at the lessons that we can learn from the natural world around us if we only take a moment to notice its simplicity and beauty, rather than living our lives at a frenetic pace where we can only focus on our anxieties, our stresses, and our struggles. Very often we live our lives by our to-do lists, rather than allowing ourselves to be guided by the natural world around us, which, if we begin to sit up and take notice, can often give us the answers we seek if we know where to look for them. No doubt you're wondering by now how on earth we can focus on the relationship between nature and coaching. If we begin to view nature as being a creative power, as well as being a substantial force behind the earth and our lives, it quickly becomes apparent that surely we should view nature as being the creative power that manifested the entire universe at the beginning of time. Not only did nature create the world, it manages to sustain and maintain everything that is essential for life. It ensures that all creation is given the chance to grow and flourish, to learn and develop, and does this all with such ease and simplicity that surely we need to look to nature to teach us a myriad of important lessons. So what can we learn if life is so difficult? Well, it's my aim, obviously, to help you become the very best you, which in turn means that you can do the same for those around you. Most of us realise that our busy, stressful modern lives cause us to become out of sync with nature and the universe, resulting in us living lives that are inharmonious and lacking alignment. So how can we make our lives align and become more harmonious? Well, the answer is a relatively simple one. We have to learn to be both open and receptive to receiving information, ideas, fulfillment, and knowledge. To start every day with a fresh, clear, and open mind, which is ready to be filled with everything the universe has to teach us. If we rewind to when we were babies and children, around the age of 6, 7, our brains produced or were running on a theta brainwave. And this is where we begin to unconsciously absorb learned behaviors and learned behavior patterns and programming. As a consequence, our belief system becomes hardwired. And it's shaped at this very early age, and it can, depending on the conditioning we've had, affect our future health and happiness, and in turn it can sabotage our success. For after years of being told just who we are, who our family is, what our faith is, what our gender or sexual motivation should be, it's really no great surprise that as a consequence, we grow up consciously attempting to fit in with the society and the cultural norms that have been drilled into us by our families. And the person we want to be, the real person, ends up being locked away deep within us and rarely, if ever, being allowed to see the light of day, which over time can impair our mental health and our very foundations. So do you ever feel as though you have more to offer? That you're nowhere near achieving your full potential? If so, then you're not alone, as many people feel this way, and the only thing they have in common that's holding them back is fear. Whether that's fear of failure, fear of the unknown, or simply feeling unworthy of success. As with any transformation, it's not just what's on the outside that needs to change. you firstly need to transform who you are on the inside and begin to live in the knowledge that you have far more power over your life than you actually think. The problem with today's society is that we're all programmed and socialized to fit in with what is considered to be the social norms. And we simply end up comparing ourselves and competing with others, and we beat ourselves up if we're unable to attain or fit in with what feels normal or acceptable. And we can end up stuck in a proverbial rut whereby we're simply living from day to day, but certainly not growing and thriving in the ways that we're capable of. All of which brings us back to our lives that are out of alignment and out of sync with the universe and the natural world around us. And we can begin to see the reasons that we have little or no option but to accept the programming and the conditioning that we underwent as children. Add this to the pressure that's constantly placed upon us as adults to live up to the ideal version of perfect that is bombarded or drilled into our senses from the likes of media, cinema, magazines, social media, all of whom continue to sell and drill into us this idea of living or having or trying to attain the perfect life. It just keeps us in a state of not feeling worthy or good enough unless we fit in, become more beautiful, slimmer, whatever, to feel that society accepts us. And all this is telling us is that society doesn't accept us the way that we currently are. And once we're in this cycle of attempting to fit in with society or cultural norms and all the pressures and stresses that are associated with doing so, it becomes clear just why we unintentionally start to hide and ignore the parts of us that we don't like or we feel don't get accepted. We concentrate on the fact that we're, too fat or too thin or too plain, not handsome enough, whatever, too short, too tall. And from this skewered way of thinking, we develop our own set of self-beliefs that can be limiting and damaging to us mentally and emotionally. We become our very own biggest critics, and we gain a lack of self-respect and confidence, along with a negative body image, because we concentrate solely on the things that we can do we could be better at, or we compare ourselves. And then we start to focus on the things that we don't feel are accepted. And we can forget that our spiritual side even exists, let alone that it needs nurturing, tending to, and embracing. We all carry deep within us a myriad of strengths and talents, and our success comes when not only do we embrace working with our particular strengths and qualities, but also when we equally embrace our limitations. When we discover strategies that will allow us to turn our limitations into positive factors, we then ensure that we can make the very best of our personal capabilities. And despite our limitations, we all still have the ability to be far more capable than we actually give ourselves credit for. In metaphysical terms, our personal sense of separation from our spiritual side is known as the false self. And despite our having been conditioned as babies and children, it's important to realize that this in itself is not a wholly bad or negative state of affair. If we think of our brains as being computers, then any false beliefs that we have are destined to come to fruition in the future. For example, if you have found yourself rejected as a child, you may well now believe that you're not worthy of being loved, and you may then discover that you act in ways that will cause others to reject you, thereby fulfilling the prophecy, a self-fulfilling prophecy. Ultimately, it's our mindset and choices that will determine the outcome. And once we have become aware that we have a different choice or we can make a different choice that will offer us a different or more positive outcome. We can begin to work on breaking our own mindset and replacing it with a more positive one to stop us facing an endless cycle of failure. At the same time, some of our learned responses and conditioning have to be seen as positive, as it's necessary for us to attain some knowledge and beliefs in order for us to operate as an integral part of society. However, many people are totally accepting of all the conditioning they receive, and as a consequence, begin to believe that there is nothing more that they have to offer than what they've been told they are. So this brings me nicely to why some of us may find ourselves living out of sync or living out of alignment. Because we only think of ourselves as being a body and a mind. We forget about our spirit, and in turn, our lives can be unfulfilling and lacking in harmony. Whereas those who are able to see beyond their conditioning can discover their true capabilities. It's fair to say that upon discovering your hidden spirit, you don't suddenly change appearance or even become, more etheric, or particularly any changes noticeable to those in your circle. Think about the phrases such as spirit of adventure or spirit of creativity. Can these only be truly experienced when we've discovered our own spirit? You will look the same to the rest of the world, but deep inside, you will have discovered your own inner peace and the inner strength that comes with it. Only then you will be living as one, living fully in the knowledge that you are now at one with your mind, your body, and your spirit, and that everything is finally working as it should be in your life, and you're living your life in harmony. You're becoming the very best you. But of course, a transformation such as this takes time and patience, along with a willingness to be open to self-discovery. And you have to make an investment in yourself in order to seek and ultimately find the very best you. It's at this point you can tell yourself that it all makes sense. You're on a path to seeking out and fulfilling your greatest potential by becoming the very best self. But not all of us can hear when the universe asked us to see that there is far more waiting for us in life than we could ever imagine. If we were to only just open both our mind and spirit and acknowledge that there is much, much more than our perceived idea of reality. So let me introduce you now to the power of your mind. All human beings have a conscious and unconscious or subconscious mind. The two mean the same thing. The conscious mind is what allows individuals to set goals, while the unconscious or subconscious mind is what allows the accomplishment of those goals. There is lots of information out there about the conscious and subconscious mind. There's a lot of confusion too. Are they the same or are they different? And if they are different, what is the difference? So let's break the mind into two systems like this. Two of the most influential figures to date in the arena of psychology are Sigmund Freud and his student Carl Jung. In Sigmund Freud's psychoanalytical theory of personality, the conscious mind consists of everything such as mental processing that is formed from our complete awareness. This aspect of our mental processing is the part of us that thinks and talks in a rational way. The conscious mind includes such things such as experiences, memories. The subconscious mind includes things as experience, memories, recollections, sensations, perceptions, feelings, and fantasies, all inside our deeper mind. Although our deeper mind, which is the subconscious mind, are the suppressed memories, the suppressed or long forgotten experiences. Closely allied sandwiched between the conscious and the subconscious is something called the pre-conscious mind. And that includes things that we're not thinking about at the moment, but which we can easily draw into our conscious awareness. So recalling an old memory from the subconscious mind, we draw it up to the pre-conscious and then into the conscious awareness. So the conscious mind includes things such as the experiences we're having in the moment, recent memories, sensations, perceptions, feelings, even fantasies that are inside our current awareness. The things that the conscious mind wants to keep hidden from our awareness or experiences that happened long ago are repressed into the unconscious or subconscious mind. While we are unaware of these feelings, thoughts, urges, and emotions, Freud believed that the unconscious mind could still influence our behavior. His student Carl Jung later developed his theory, analytical psychology, and this is where the term archetypes or shadow self or the ego were coined. Jung thought that the main purpose of an individual is to learn individuation, a lifelong process to understand what the self is and what the not self is, based on our conscious and unconscious elements. Individuation can be thought of as a journey of the self to meet the higher self, something you may have heard of before, called self-actualization by Abraham Maslow. So let's look at the deeper mind. So we have the conscious mind, just to recap. This is your awareness at any given moment. You're conscious and in the present, which means you are aware externally of what's happening, as well as internally in terms of mental functions. So for example, right now, you're either aware that you're sitting, standing, or lying down, and you're aware of your environment, and that you're breathing and listening to me talking. And the pre-conscious element, this is accessible information, so you can make yourself aware of it by directing your attention to it. You can bring to your consciousness the pre-conscious information your brain holds. For example, how many times have you walked to the shops without being aware and conscious of the route and your surroundings? It's almost as if you're on autopilot. Or you can walk and talk on your phone all the way home safely without getting lost. And then you have the subconscious mind or the unconscious mind. This consists of primitive and instinctual thoughts as well as inaccessible information. Our thoughts and behaviours as adults are unconsciously driven by factors, memories and experiences which occurred as children. We acquired countless memories of children, yet it's almost impossible for us to remember even a small percentage of the events which led to developing these memories. So let's look at how our brain forms beliefs. Most of us will battle at some point in our lives with thoughts and feelings which threaten to sabotage our success and happiness. We live according to our perception of the world, so everything is filtered through our beliefs, experiences, mental state, and upbringing, etc. Each one of us lives in a very different reality, based on the filtering systems we have unconsciously established to make sense of the world. In any given moment, an extraordinary amount of data is being absorbed through your 5 senses, your sight, your hearing, your touch, taste, and smell. And it's through our senses we filter information to and from our nervous system, our endocrine system, and our chakra system, determining how we feel at any given time based on our interpretation of the situation. And our interpretation is based on our belief system. If we believe something to be true, we will filter and distort the information to make it fit with our belief system. It does not necessarily mean it's true, it's simply our perception and the way we've learned to filter the information. So how our belief system is formed. When we're born, we accept the world around us as it is. We live in harmony, open to what surrounds us. We do not see or feel any separation between ourselves, our environment, and the people around us. Our brains are in a state of hypnosis, that theta brainwave state, which means we're absorbing everything that's going on in our environment to us and around us. As we grow, we begin to take on the behavior styles of those around us. Those closest to us have the biggest influence on us, and we may take on their behaviors and beliefs. Depending on the influences we receive as children, we will grow into adults believing either we're lovable and worthy of achieving our dreams, or that we're unlovable, unworthy, and incapable of achieving anything. As our brains start developing based on our experiences, neurons start to make connections and form those neural pathways and form our habitual behavior. And it's these connections that create memories and automatic behaviors and habits. Through repetition, the behaviors become subconscious. We don't need to think about them anymore. We can just do them. They're habitual, but they form our core beliefs. Our whole lives are then dictated by these such inner beliefs. So what are core beliefs or inner beliefs? Well, these inner beliefs include the thoughts and assumptions we hold about ourselves, others, and the world around us. They are deep-seated beliefs which often go unrecognized, and yet they constantly affect our lives. By the time we reach adulthood, we are said to function on as much as 95 to 99% automatic behavior, with the rest being conscious. At some point in our evolution, usually through an experience, we're pulled away from the harmony we experienced as a baby, and we start identifying ourselves within the family dynamic and society's idea of being human or male or female, or what's expected of us based on what others tell us who we are and what they think of us. We listen to the messages around us and we start to form beliefs around who we are. For example, we hear messages such as that's a good boy, that's a good girl, or that's a bad girl and that's a bad boy. These are the messages that we start to believe as true about us. And as we grow up, we're further conditioned by those around us, family, friends, teachers, and society. Our spiritual self becomes more and more buried. Depending on our family traditions, beliefs, their values, their religion, their culture, their status, and even their inherited beliefs, these become more and more conditioned into us, so we follow a certain path and believe in the same traditions. When we reach adulthood, we act and respond in a way that we've been conditioned to, so that we can receive approval from society. At the same time, we understand what aspects of ourselves are considered good and bad. Driven to seek praise and approval, we try to bend ourselves into being the person society expects, rejecting and hiding the parts of us that are considered to be bad or not acceptable, and developing these qualities seen as good. Our sense of identity moves further away from the harmony into which we're born. Now we think, feel, and believe limiting thoughts such as I'm too thin, I'm too fat, I'm too bright, I'm too slow. All the things that we compare ourselves with that remind us that we're just not good enough. And it's from here that we form a limited and narrow-minded view of ourselves and the world we live in. We develop an inner voice that tells us we either can or can't do something. Even worse, this voice can totally demoralize us, criticize us, and if severe enough, immobilize us from even getting out of bed in the morning and functioning fully. It's in my opinion that from this conditioning, we lose touch with our spirit self, the side of us that is limitless, creative, loving, and non-judgmental. I believe it is fear placed upon us in the form of being rejected, unloved, unworthy, not good enough, not having enough, or not being the best, that detaches us from our almighty, limitless self and causes us to live in a limited, watered down version of our true potential. The limitless self that we all have access to is simply the vibration of unconditional love. That is the highest frequency we can hold within us. And it's the one place that we're really all striving to get back to. It's unfortunate that society and the cleverness of the media has deflected our insight and has led us down a path of believing happiness and love will be found in material things. It is those that have trodden this materialistic or hedonistic path long enough that come to eventually realize that what they have longed for is actually within them and always has been. The game is to find the treasure that was hidden within you a long time before you were born, the treasure of your hidden gifts and talents. But it wouldn't be much of a game if the treasures weren't hidden amongst danger, challenges, obstacles, and adversity, now would it? Our limiting beliefs create an inner critic, or this critical voice within us. So is your inner critic getting in the way of your dreams? The inner critic or inner judge is simply a term used to describe our internal negative self-talk. It's part of the human condition to engage in negative self-talk, as its job of the brain is to alert us to danger and to keep us safe from harm. The problem then becomes when the inner critic stands in our way, impeding our ability to realize our full potential by going for our dreams. Understanding the inner critic helps you identify and isolate the inner negative voice that manifests itself in your limiting beliefs. It's true, at times the inner critic serves as a useful role in helping us recognize that which we could improve. But it's only useful if this is a welcoming, conscious choice. The problem is that most people can't turn their inner critic off, and the inner critic ends up running the show, running their life. And it stops you developing a growth mindset whereby we can learn from our mistakes and move on. Being moderately critical can be useful, but overuse can hinder development severely. An inner critical voice can be formed out of painful early life experiences in which we absorb the negative or hurtful attitudes that were directed towards us from those around us. As we grow up, we unconsciously integrate this destructive thought pattern towards ourselves and others. If we fail to identify and separate ourselves from this inner critic, our behavior and choices become impacted, which in turn shape the direction of our lives. If strong enough, it may sabotage our relationships, our success, and ultimately prevent us from living the lives we want to lead and becoming the person we seek to be. So how can we challenge this inner voice? How can we recognize that it is separate from us and change its effect on us? This course will explain the psychological development we go through as we journey through the 7 steps to spiritual alchemy. By the end of this course, you will have uncovered the limiting beliefs that are holding you back. You will discover the imbalances held in each chakra and how to work with its energy so it becomes more balanced. You will learn how to listen to your intuition through guided meditation and intuitive awareness. And you will know how to bring balance and harmony to your everyday life by transmuting the negative belief systems, the inner critic, and turn them into a positive transformation.